and our warrant for tonight is Article 29. Is there a motion on Article 29?
There is, Mr. Moderator. I'd like to say that you're welcome for helping me achieve a quorum tonight. And the motion is that we, the people of Great Barrington, hereby mandate the town maintain Lake Mansfield Road as a two-way vehicular road from end to end in perpetuity, effective immediately.
Is there a second? Motion has been made and seconded. Mr. Farina, would you like to take 3 minutes to explain? I'm going to give you 1 minute at the end for that one.
Thank you. I'd just like to talk about this a little bit. Lake Mansfield Road, in the section that we're talking about, is from roughly the beach to the boat ramp. And the task force has done a great job over more than 10 years that they've been in place, developing a plan for this area. This motion does nothing to negatively impact probably 80 to 90% of their plan. I think they've got a great plan for the parking area, the beach area, the drainage, and some other things that they've done and put together. What I'm proposing is actually part of a two-step or multi-step proposition. During the course of the 10 plus years, the Lake Mansfield Task Force, I'll just call them either the task force or LMITF, undertook studies. They also did 3 surveys of the population. These surveys were done with people that were actually engaged in the process, were attending meetings, looking at the options that were presented. And in each of the 3 surveys, with increasing results each time, 70%, in each one of the surveys, 70% of the people that responded that they wanted to keep the roadway open in one form or another. In fact, in the very last survey, which was the most popular survey taken, almost 50% not only wanted it kept open, but almost 50% wanted it kept open in two-way traffic. The select board, I've been dealing with this for, it seems, a couple of years now, and I was at select board meetings when the task force presented this. I presented some ideas around it. I presented the fact that the people that they surveyed wanted the road open. I reminded them I was not involved with. Apparently there was a citizen's petition that was handed around and gathered 1,300 signatures to keep the road open. That number of people is actually greater than the top 2 select board vote getters combined. And so I thought about it, and I said, well, how can we address this then? If they want to close the road because they're worried about the bikers, they're worried about the walkers, they're worried about the people that like to fish from the side of the road, there must be some kind of a solution. The people have said they want a solution to this. And so I gave this some consideration, and I realized, well, why not just put a boardwalk along the edge of the lake? And so by putting a boardwalk from about the beach to the boat ramp, using a low-impact environmental technology such as Technopost or something similar, they're able to not only provide the solution for the bikers, the walkers, the fisher people, and travelers that want to go in either direction. You also improve the ecosystem of the lake, especially when combined with the lake stabilization. The roadway itself has been repaved massively, and so I'll come back and talk a little bit more for again another minute at the end. But the biggest thing I tried to do was find a way that we can all come together in unity as a community. We don't always have to agree on everything, but we have to find ways to work together. And this is a solution that will allow us to work together to find a solution that meets the needs of all the stakeholders in the community.
Thank you. First person up is already there, so if it gets away, but otherwise I'm going to go back and forth. To my left.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Christine Ward, and I live at 29 Castle Hill Avenue. I've served on the Lake Mansfield Improvement Task Force since its inception, and the speaker was right, over 10 years. And I've enjoyed being part of the Lake Mansfield Improvement Planning. And the speaker is correct again that we work very hard to engage the community in many aspects, if not all aspects of that planning, as well as to work with landscape designers and engineers. And through that planning process, we created the Lake Mansfield Improvement Plan, which is specifically designed to address water quality, safety, and recreational uses in the Lake Mansfield recreational area. We understand as a task force that the most important priority to our work is water quality. That's why people want to go to Lake Mansfield, because it's a beautiful, healthy lake. And that's important to our community, and it's a unique resource for our community. Through this improvement planning process, several major improvements have been made already, specifically dealing with enormous, really, stormwater issues. And so improvements have been made at the Castle Hill Avenue extension, at Nob Hill, and also at the boat launch. But by far, the hardest nut to crack is Lake Mansfield Road. And because of that, our last phase of planning before we brought the recommendation that we brought to the select board of closing the road and creating a recreational trail, we engaged engineers to do an in-depth engineering study of the area of concern on Lake Mansfield Road, which goes from the boat launch to just before the beach area. What we discovered is that the condition of the area beneath the road is hugely unstable. It was being described as building a road on a peat bog. And that in order to improve that, in order to have any sustainable road at all, one-way or two-way, would be extremely expensive, would require extensive permitting, and may not, in fact, be able to be permitted. Our other concerns in terms of water quality, also we wanted to prioritize the stabilization and rehabilitation of the bank area of the lake, which many of us know is completely deteriorated, and we have pavement falling into the road. So, at the recommendation of the Conservation Commission and a Lake Mansfield Improvement Task Force, we voted unanimously to support the change of the road to a recreational trail in order for us to protect the quality of water in Lake Mansfield, to improve the buffer zone and habitat area at Lake Mansfield, and also to enhance recreation and safety in that area. And so I would urge my fellow community members to vote no on this petition.
Am I right?
Sally Michael, 22 Gilmore Avenue.
Could you speak right in, directly into the microphone? They're directional. Thank you.
Sally Michael, 22 Gilmore Avenue. I want to thank the task force for all the work that they've done. I know it's been huge, and I have not participated in it, but I do have an opinion now that I want to move forward. I looked up how many households are in Great Barrington, and there's 2,470. Of those, 1,200 live on the hill, great place to live, and the other 1,200 live either to the east, the south, or the west of town. Very few live to the north. My concern is that making the access by vehicle only at the north really limits the access for the other people in town. And I struggled, and I'm trying to find a way to not have that split. It's almost a 50-50 split of townspeople. The one idea I came up with was to keep the road going from the south north one way, but apparently for what Christine just said, the area won't even bear a one-way road. So I would suggest that we talk about this more and everyone go to the task force meetings to come to a solution that can at least address the desires of 75% of the community to have equal and excellent access.
Thank you. To my left.
Randy Nelson, 28 Barrington Place. I'm also a member of the Lake Mansfield Improvement Task Force. Been a member for 4 or 5 years now. We have talked and studied Lake Mansfield Road absolutely to death. The town has been extremely supportive of funding studies and engineering analyses. And what we found is that despite what we might want, we have to also consider what we can afford, what can be grant funded, and unfortunately a two-way road absolutely cannot be grant funded. A one-way road cannot be grant funded. A recreational trail, on the other hand, does have significant opportunity for grant funding. The task force has been concerned not only with the technical aspects of how to stabilize the lake edge and allow recreational use along the roadway, while studying whether or not we even have room for a roadway, which we do not. And we have, after more than 12 years, I think, of study, made our recommendation to the select board to close the road in perpetuity and restore the lake edge and allow people to continue using the beautiful space for recreational purposes. We're trying to be both responsible to the lake and the taxpayers. So I'd urge you to vote no on this article.
Hello, Dale Abrams, 6 Lake Mansfield Road, and also a member of the Lake Mansfield Improvement Task Force, as well as Great Barrington Land Conservancy. I live right by the lake and have for 18 years. And some might say, maybe we should have, less activity there. It would be nice that way. It would be a private park or something like that. But that's not what I believe. I believe, as the town did when it created Lake Mansfield through the acquisition of land and water conservation funds from the federal government many decades ago, that would be a space that was open to everyone, not just the members of Great Barrington, but all folks from far and wide. From my vantage point, that is what I see. It is beautiful. Every day, there's the sound of children laughing, dogs barking, bikers and runners jogging and zooming by. It's a beautiful thing. Sailboats, canoes, fisher folks. It's a place that, like in the field of dreams, deserves to become what it is meant to be, which is truly the recreational heart of Lake Mansfield. We have many roads, we only have one Lake Mansfield. I urge you to vote no.
On the other side, on my left.
Yes, Peter Frank, 16 Lakeview Road, Great Barrington. I'm a former member of the Lake Mansfield Task Force, and last time I spoke about this issue to the Select Board, I was vehemently opposed to the paving that eventually went in. I have to say that since the paving did go in, I've found it a revelation on a number of fronts. One is that there is a one-way road currently and a pedestrian area right next to it. The one-way road is the correct width for a road. And what do we have left but about 5 feet for a pedestrian use? Now, to me, it just shows how impossible it is to get a two-way road. It's kind of like a trial run for scale, and the two-way road just doesn't work for many reasons. The other thing is that by paving it, it has opened my eyes to how fantastic of a recreation space that is. I go there almost every day. I see kids riding their bikes. I see parents trying to teach their kids how to ride bikes. I walk my dog. It's just wonderful. And it brings me back to an incident that I saw, which is just typical when it was two-way road, where a family with 2 young girls on a bike were going in one direction. You had trucks coming right towards them one way and a truck coming the other way, and there are these two little girls trying to ride their bikes. I mean, it just showed me how nasty a roadway can be there when you start talking about fishermen. You see fishermen on the side of the road. I've seen them before the road, before that pedestrian area is. I've seen, cars coming right up behind them while they're trying to fish. I just think that, I can't imagine how many miles of road we have in this town. And then to say we're going to lose about, 1,000 feet of roadway. I mean, but look at what we gain just proportionally. And the other issue is cost. I know that to put a two-way road in there is an insane, as Christine Ward was saying, it's just an insane expense, to say nothing of the impossibility of, the environmental impact of coming right up to the road. I've seen the property lines, I've seen the wetlands, it just can't be done. And that to think that also that the two-way road is by far the most expensive way, it can't be granted. Whereas I know that by having a pedestrian parkway, some nod to environmental concern, we open ourselves up to A, a much cheaper road, and B, the possibility of tremendous granting. So I really think that I think that the one-way road is in fact already a compromise given the recommendations of the board, and I think that the Lake Mansfield board has been supportive
Thank you very
of
much.
going one
You're
way,
working on
and
4
I
minutes
appreciate
now.
your time.
Yep. Am I right?
Hello, Mr. Moderator. My name is Jennifer Clark. I agree with all that Peter has just outlined. I am not on any of these committees, but I am so impacted by the beauty and usefulness of this space. I volunteered to the task force to put together a new website and a online citizens petition. And we only put it up 2 weeks ago because that's how these things go. But in that period of time, I actually think it was a little less, might have been a week, we've gathered already 206 signatures from only Great Barrington residents, many more from outside the area. But in looking at the spreadsheet, we came up with that number for our own citizens. This is a large number of or a deep fountain of support for this plan, and I urge everyone here to vote against this motion or this article, because it really counters what we want in this town and what we need. Thank you.
On my left.
Mr. Moderator, I've already spoken. I just want to make a clarification.
Unless you're responding to a particular question, I can't almost recognize it for clarification. Sorry.
Okay.
On the right.
Eliza Abrams, 6 Lake Mansfield Road. As someone who's grown up near the lake, I can definitely attest to how cherished Lake Mansfield is as an outdoor recreation space. And over the past few months in quarantine, I've seen a huge increase in the number of families who are able to safely and freely go on bike rides and walks together, as well as more elderly members of the community who feel safer walking on a one-way road. And we need to take the next step and fully close the road in order to restore the shoreline, protect the quality of the water and its inhabitants, and make sure that we do maintain this safe outdoor recreation space. Some of the concerns presented have been that there might not be access to houses or Eastview Pool, or access to the hospital through emergency vehicles, but I can assure you that that access will be maintained, and we can be assured that people can get safely to the hospital. We really need to take this next step, and I urge everyone to strongly consider maintaining this incredible outdoor recreation space as a healthy environment, and vote no on Article 29. Thank you.
Thank you. Reviewing the bidding, we've had one speaker in favor of the motion to mandate two-way, and we've had 7 speakers against it. Is there anybody else who would like to speak in favor of the motion? Look for your count. Thank you on the left.
Yeah, Dave.
I'm sorry, it's a bit low. There you go.
Yeah, my name's Dave Ryle. I'm at 85 Christian Hill Road. I keep hearing from the task force and other areas that the road it's not possible to have a road there. We've had a road there for 64 years, if not longer. The road was degraded to such an extent because the task force opposed it to being repaved. Okay, and now that it's repaved, it will likely last for over 20 years. The last time it was repaved, prior to this last repaving, was over 20 years ago. So it's possible, and it's possible to do that for very low cost. Let's see. It's possible to have a two-way road there too, because we have 51 miles of other roads in the town of the same width. Okay? Every single person in this town wants to improve the lake for the benefit of everybody. The problem with the task force plan is that it does not benefit everybody. In fact, it represses the rights of others. It violates the town's bylaws. It restricts access to health care. It restricts access to the lake. It makes traffic far worse on Main Street. It dictates how people can enjoy the lake. In this day and age, when this country is fighting to uphold the rights of all citizens, why isn't the task force interested in the rights of others? Just because the people on the north are the minority? So we're not going to uphold the rights of the minority in this country, in this day and age, right now? Really? Why is the task force prioritizing recreation over medical necessity? Why isn't the town fighting to uphold our bylaws? Or is it okay to arbitrarily apply our laws in this day and age? Come on, is that what we want this town to be known for? There's a solution to this problem. It's easy. We can make it one way, north to south, so people's access to health care is not violated. It's as simple as that. But the task force refuses to even consider it. So, I ask folks to vote yes on this. The task force is wrong. We owe it to the town to get it right. Vote yes and keep the road open until we do get it right. Thanks.
We're going to go back and forth, although, again, I encourage not repeating points that have been made by others. To my right.
Hi, I'm Arch Kilmer. My parents live at 2 Dehan Road, which is right on the corner of Lake Mansfield Road. My parents have been there since '65, and that's where I grew up. And I'm totally disgusted with how everything has just been commercialized up at Lake Mansfield. How everything is just for the city people, for nothing for the town people. I see more city people, New Yorkers, Connecticut, which is fine. I mean, you guys are trying to get tourists in here and everything, but it's like for my father, who has Alzheimer's, trying to get him to the emergency room or something, we have to drive through town. And everybody says, oh, well, no, you can just call the ambulance. Well, do you want to pay that ambulance bill? And we can take them ourselves, but no, we have to drive through town. So for me, it's the road, if it's going to be a one-way, it should be from the north to south. But I don't see any reason why the road shouldn't be a two-way. It's been a two-way for as long as I can remember, since I was born. So I encourage everybody to vote yes on this amendment, because there's no reason why there can't be two cars on that road. Everybody is so worried about, there's plenty of places, this parking lot here, for people to bring their kids to learn how to ride a bicycle. There's a track over there for people to walk safely. Why do they have to be at the lake? Then you get partiers down there. My parents have to listen to everybody up there drinking, smoking pot, being fools. Why don't you live right by the lake and see if you want to deal with that? I ask you to vote yes on making it a two-lane road again. Thank you.
Hello? Sorry, you need to move the mic down.
Kathy Kotleski. I live on 16 Dion Road. And my concern is, again, getting to the hospital, that maybe it should be one way the other way. I have used that road for many years, taking people to the hospital. It takes 5 minutes from my house. Going through town takes over 10, and the summer longer. So if you're going to close it, you're going to cause a health crisis. And I want to know what the ambulance, police, and fire have to say. Thank you.
Anyway? Yes. Well, I'm Jim Brown at 10 Berkshire Heights in Great Barrington. I have a couple of things to say. I have 4 children that I've raised that their main recreation was there at Lake Mansfield in the summer. I'm proud to say 2 of them are men, have master's degrees now and are planners. So I think we've accomplished something. This petition says in perpetuity, which means you can never change it. So if you want it one way from north to south, this voting yes on this position would completely eradicate that. Secondly, when this was 2-lane, I can't tell you the number of times when the speed limit was 20 miles an hour that I would be going down that road 20 miles an hour, and somebody, perhaps one of your neighbors on Christian Hill, decided it was too slow and would soon pass me because I just wasn't quite fast enough for them. And this is when there were people walking in the road, people bicycling, kids there. Making this a 2-lane road is not only bad for the lake, it is extremely dangerous for anybody who's a pedestrian. The current plan is actually a compromise between those of us who wanted to close that road completely and those of you who wanted it 2-lane. Thank you. Does anybody at the left room want to speak? If not, I'll get back to it. Quickly?
Okay.
Name and
Sharon Coleman, 3 Bentley Avenue, Great Barrington. Well, we use the lake a lot. We walk there and walk around and use it for pretty much everything. And it is, as everybody else has said, it's a wonderful resource for our entire community. And we're not from New York, okay? We're not from New York City, because I know that was raised. And I just want to say that in these days of COVID, where it's been an oasis, a refuge for people to get out in nature, there is one problem with having the road there and the pedestrian walkway, and that is there needs to be a greater pedestrian walkway, because people, including myself, I try to get out of people's way because we have to have physical distancing, so I end up walking in the road anyway. And I'm sure it's annoying to drivers, and it's probably not that safe. So this compromise is already a difficult thing. But anyway, I'm just not in favor of this particular article. Thank you.
Karen Smith, 5 Monument Valley Road, Chair of the Park and Recreation Department. I've lived in Great Barrington for 42 years, but I'm not a native. I would like to, first of all, make a statement about the Lake Mansfield group. They have worked for over a decade on this. People hate change. The way it was 20 years ago, the way it was 15 years ago, things change. Roads erode. The other thing I think it's very important, the question was asked just briefly before, is that the police department, the ambulances department, and the fire department have all signed off on this road being closed, number one. They have signed off and said it's okay.
Because if they have to get there with a siren, they're gonna get there quicker through town than anything anyway. So they've already signed off on it, so that, and I understand if you happen to live on Dion Road, that may be an issue, I get it. But I think when you talk about the totality of it, that this is a good option. Number two, people who say, why are those people with New York plates? Why are they there? That is a federally funded lake and we have to be open. We can't close it down. And number three, excuse me, I'm speaking. Number three, as chair of the Park and Rec, and the programming that we're trying to run, yoga classes, we can't do swim classes this year, lifeguards, parking monitors, beach monitors, all that stuff is incredibly important during COVID because people need a place to go. Eastview Pool is closed. Berkshire South is closed. There's no place else to go. So we think it's very important, and I ride by there on my bike. I don't take my car. I ride my bike, and I think it is absolutely not a good idea to support this amendment in any way, shape, or form.
On my left.
Yeah, Gary Happ, 154 Castle Hill Avenue. First, I wanted to salute the Select Board for their political courage and wisdom in voting to close Lake Mansfield Road. Somehow, that got reversed. And now we're back here tonight talking about winners and losers, when the board made the political decision, the right political decision, to close the road. No winners, no losers. Would have been great. But things happen. I don't know how they happen, but they happen. Let me make it clear. No one, well, maybe a lot of people are, but I am so inconvenienced by that road being one way that when I leave my place of work down the road here at the brewery, and I go over the Brown Bridge, and there's traffic, and I say, I'll just make a right-hand turn, go up Christian Hill, can't do that. Now I've got to go through town, 6 or 7 crosswalks, a traffic light on Cottage Street that turns red on Route 7, I don't know why, but it does. And takes another 10 minutes to get back to my house, where if I could go around the other way, it would be great. But my point is this. We live in a great community, and when we live in a community like this, and I've lived here for 45 years, people make sacrifices to make this town great. So we all have to make sacrifices and have a little inconvenience in our life. And as Karen said before, the medical issue is not a thing. That's a red herring. It's already been addressed. People make the sacrifice, either close the road, which you should have done, or keep it one way until we've been promised by the Board of Selectmen that they will close the road. So close the road, keep it one way for now, and don't do anything forever. This is a bad, bad idea. I suggest that we vote it down. Thank you.
The select board is recognized to respond to the issue about closing the road.
Microphone.
Steve Bannon, Fairview Terrace. The select board voted to close the road, and that is still the plan. Right now, we're doing it in phases. It was made one way until we get funding through grants and other methods to be able to pay to close the road. So that road, as of right now, will be closed. It's just probably 18 months to 2 years away.
Thank you. I believe that next is on the right. Yes.
Susie Fowle, 40 Clark Street. And I urge a no vote on this warrant. I think the amount of discussion here is indicative of how complicated the issue is, and it indicates just how hard the job has been of the Lake Mansfield Improvement Task Force. They've been leaving no stone unturned for over 10 years. And full disclosure, I served on that task force for a couple of years a while ago. And I also understand that it's confusing, so a point of clarity is that this past winter when the road was repaved, I just want to clarify and remind that the town discovered that the road was in violation violation of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. And so the Conservation Commission was mandated to restore the bank, so the little tiny strip of land / water between the edge of the lake and the edge of the road. So there's a real conflict. There's a real restriction there in terms of complying with the Mass Wetlands Protection Act, which is all about the public interest, and also maintaining some sort of a road or recreational trail. Last point I want to make is this article states that the road would be kept 2 lanes in perpetuity. For me, that doesn't pass the smell test. To make any road be a certain thing in perpetuity just doesn't seem like a good idea. Thanks.
On the left, this is the 18th speaker on this. Bear in mind, we decide things by counting votes, not by counting speakers.
Bill Cook, Highland Drive, Great Barrington. I was also on the Lake Mansfield Improvement Task Force. I have been on for about 6 years. I believe I actually suggested what Steve was recommending tonight, a boardwalk along the lakefront. And we investigated that, and it seems like the Environmental Protection will not ever permit anything like that to happen along the edge of the lake. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. Any speakers on the right at this point? I see no speakers on the right. Steve, would you like to make your response?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Wow, I've got a lot to cover in about a minute.
I'll give you 2.
Thank you. Several things. In perpetuity only means forever until somebody else brings it before a town meeting vote. Basically, all that does is keep the control out of the hands randomly of the select board. The majority of the people that I've heard speak here, you guys have a great turnout for voting against this, seem to be from the task force, living on the hill, living in walking distance. Sounds a lot like what I heard the other night, before you all moan, NIMBYism. The roadway has a layer of macadam on it that has been put down and is sufficient according to the engineering studies. Look, I read the 260-page report the task force put out, and I think it's an awesome report. They did a lot of work. I agree with most of the stuff that they've said to do. As far as the boardwalk is concerned, my idea, the report said 3 things. They gave 3 reasons why they didn't even include it in the surveys that still people responded to by 70% to keep the road open. The reasons were vandalism. Vandalism on a boardwalk is no more likely than vandalism at the beach. And that's a policing issue, not a task force issue. The other reason was they didn't know if they could get a grant for it. And the third one's escaping me right now, but it was another money reason. And the fact of the matter is, regardless of where the money comes from, whether it's a grant or some other method, it's taxpayer money. So the taxpayers are paying no matter what happens on this road. The other thing, there's a couple of other things that were left out of what they were sharing. The roadway, according to their 260-page report, will require that drainage to be done underneath it anyway at a cost of about $1 million, because even if it is closed, there still needs to be maintained the capability of carrying heavy vehicles for emergency purposes, whether it's an ambulance, a fire truck, or anything else. So that work has to happen anyway. The roadway as a paved road, according to their engineering studies, should last between 10 and 20 years, the way it is right now. And as far as the width of the road, I drove up Castle Hill Avenue the other day, and guess what? I got out and I grabbed my tape, and there are multiple places on Castle Hill Avenue, on the way up there, a 2-way road that are 17 feet, 6 inches wide, which is the narrowest point on the stretch we're talking about. By keeping this open tonight, by voting yes, we can pursue these things. Maybe we end up at a compromise where it's one-way ongoing. And maybe that's going to be the best solution if it's not a boardwalk. I want to keep the discussion going. If we vote no on this tonight, that road is closed forever, done, never coming back. This is an opportunity for the people of this town to say, we don't agree with the select board overriding the 70% people that responded to the surveys, the 1,300 people that petitioned them, and the majority of the people of this town, or a large portion, actually, it's probably right. Somebody else spoke earlier, it's about 50-50. We have an opportunity to come together in unity and continue to work in unity on this. Vote yes on this and work together in unity.
Thank you very much. Our bylaw says we don't stop talking till everybody who wants to gets a chance, but 19 of you, 18 have had a chance. I don't see anybody at the microphone, so we'll take a vote on the motion for Article 29 to mandate that Lake Mansfield Road be maintained as a two-way road in perpetuity. All the tellers, I would like to count this vote to be sure we have it right. If the tellers could be in place to count the vote. All those in favor of the motion to close the road, rather to keep the road two-way, please raise your cards. Thank you. You may put your cards down. All those opposed, please raise your cards. And tell us when you are done. I know you're not quite done yet, Kathy. Could you go over to the microphone to report the vote? Can you put your cards down if the tellers could report the vote?
Yes, 8. No, 48.
Yes, 12, no, 31.
Yes, 12, no, 31. The first one was yes, 8, no, 48.
Yes, 0, no, 35.
Yes, 0, no, 35.
Yes, 0, no, 16.
Yes, 0, no, 16. The motion fails. I can count up the vote this time. There are 20 in favor and 115 against. Motion fails. Thank you very much for your amazing civic commitment to coming out in these unusual conditions twice in 1 week. I will entertain a motion to dissolve the meeting. So moved. Is there a second? All in favor, raise your cards, honk your horns, blink your lights. Anybody opposed? Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned.